Our next lecture will be in English, and the speaker will be Jason Rees from Oracle, and the subject is Lesson Learned from EMEA Customers Adopting a Local Region. Hi, Jason.
Hello there. Good morning. Good morning for me. Good afternoon for you.
Good. Both. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Let me just share my my slides. Can you tell me? Can you see that? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Good. Thank you. So first off, thank you very much for allowing us some time to talk to you today. So my name is Jason Rees. I work in Western Europe in EMEA. And today, I just want to share you some thoughts on why customers are adopting Oracle Cloud Infrastructure within our local regions. So first off, I get asked all the time, Jason, what is Oracle's cloud strategy? Well, actually, it's quite simple. We have applications that are there to be able to collect, store and act on information, be that horizontal applications or industry vertical applications. And we have Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, which is the infrastructure and the platform services that are used to be able to support those applications. Our own applications, but applications that our customers want to move to the cloud or build net new in the cloud. So really our strategy is simple as that. We provide applications and cloud infrastructure to our customers. Now we've had to rebuild our business for the cloud. And that's an important point because when we wanting to offer all these SaaS-based applications, when we started looking at actually how we were going to deliver those, our consideration was that the current approach that the Gen 1 providers, the hyperscalers that you guys will all be familiar with, just wasn't quite right for what we wanted. It didn't have some of the features, the enterprise features we felt we needed to offer our applications. It didn't have some of the security aspects we needed as well, and the ability that we needed to scale for that. So we rebuilt, and the reason we call it Generation 2, rebuilt Oracle Cloud Infrastructure for our applications, be it applications again that we have today, or ones that we bring in as part of acquisition to be able to round out our portfolio. So that's an important point that we actually rebuilt this platform and I say rebuild our business for the cloud. But also we want to take a flexible approach, so very much about choice. So yes, many of our customers are going directly to public cloud, but some of them are still saying that they actually want to provide and enjoy the economies of scale and the flex up, flex down of cloud behind their firewall in their own data centers. And in EMEA, a number of customers are still very keen on the idea of something we call Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or even a dedicated cloud region just for their use. And again, that again is related to things like data sovereignty and latency concerns as well. As Oracle, we actually are a provider that offers SLAs. And again, the customers in EMEA are demanding this, not just availability SLAs, but also performance SLAs, be it at the network level and storage, for example, as well as manageability. You need to be able to make sure you can always get access to the console or the APIs to be able to make use of these services. And in EMEA especially, and I'm sure it's the same for you guys in Israel, the pandemic has actually really accelerated a lot of digital transformation. So what we found in my region, many of our customers are saying we need to get on with this. These complex applications that have been sat in our data centers, we really need to get these to the cloud. And the enterprise features that we provide in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure are there for those most complex mission critical workloads. And of course, it helps with the legacy debt challenge that a lot of our customers face as well. Now, we talked about the regions and how people are adopting. Well, at the moment, Oracle has 29 regions around the world, and obviously we've got a plan to deliver more going forward. Of course, in Israel, we'll be delivering a region to Israel later on this year as well, which we're all very excited about. And what's important is the reason that we have made this investment, because yes, we've got solutions that can sit in customers' data centers to provide those cloud-based services, but more and more clearly people are looking to move to the cloud, be it SaaS-based services or infrastructure and platform-based services. In the UK, where I live, we're lucky to have a region in London, but also in Newport, so near Cardiff as well. And that's important because in the UK, people still want to make sure that they understand the data sovereignty of those applications and systems, as well as making sure that those latency things are in place as well. If you look across the EU, we've got Amsterdam and Frankfurt, and that's great, but we still have demand, for example, in places like Switzerland and Zurich, to make sure that there's local data centers and facilities available. So more and more, we are going to make sure that we put the data center in the location of the customer needs, or as needed, we can use things like our dedicated cloud regions as customers demand it. And again, and I'll come on to multi-cloud in the next slide, but you see here, we're also doing lots of stuff with Microsoft now around the interconnectivity. And as I say, multi-cloud for us is now a big thing. And this is what our customers are demanding in EMEA. They're demanding the fact that each cloud has its own strength. For Oracle, we feel it's about mission critical and critical systems that can move to the cloud without having to rewrite. But many of the other cloud providers have their own strengths, of course, as well. And we want to make it easy for you as our customers to actually make use of each cloud as needed. We did this on premise. Why would we not be doing this in the cloud? So I think that's an important point as well, that we always have best breed on premise. Let's deliver that back as cloud-based services and remove the engineering headaches that otherwise you would have to deal with. Also, it does allow, from a risk point of view or a capacity point of view, the ability to actually make use of other providers. For example, Zoom, which we're obviously using today, they went from 30 million to 300 million customers in the pandemic, and they looked to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure to actually allow that additional scale to be able to meet those additional users. And what that also allows, if you're using multi-cloud, you can make sure that you're not maybe eggs in one basket, and maybe the costs associated with running in some people's clouds isn't prohibitive. You can obviously make use of different clouds as needed. Now, again, why are customers in Europe adopting our clouds and our cloud regions? Well, I've summarized it really in sort of these 6 points. It really comes down to those mission critical applications need to go somewhere. And what they've realized is that they don't want to rewrite everything. They don't want to refactor everything. So what we've done is made sure that the enterprise features that they expect and they have on premise are available in the cloud. So a performant network, a very predictable network, the ability to be able to do things like real application clusters, to be able to deliver Oracle databases in the most resilient and scalable way, as well as access to technologies like Exadata. So this is what our customers absolutely demand in a cloud, and this is what we're trying to deliver back to. But also developers as well. Developers absolutely need to be able to do things, either extend those applications that you may be using, or of course, develop from new as well. So be it that they're taking microservices-based approaches and they want to use serverless technologies, or they want to use Kubernetes to be able to easily move things around, or basically getting down to maybe low code development. So we provide things like Apex, makes it easier to create applications, or Visual Builder. So the fact is, whether or not you're a developer, you want to do net new, or you just want to actually extend those applications, it's important that we provide, and that's what we provide in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. We have something called autonomous technologies, so our autonomous database, or autonomous Linux. And what we're basically doing here is we're actually taking the responsibility for things like automated patching, tuning, performance, and scale, in order that our customers can actually just focus on the outcome they're looking for, rather than actually needing to spend all their time maintaining systems in the cloud. Talked before about hybrid, so be it cloud at customer. We also provide hybrid with things like Azure to make sure that we do that multi-cloud, and we'll be doing that with others, I'm sure, in the future. But also it's important to remember we've got things like VMware Cloud Service. So lots of our customers in Europe are now adopting this. So this is the ability to run VMware like you do on premise, but run it exactly in the cloud. So not in a bolt-on and a managed service, but you can take the versions of VMware that you're using on premise and use it in the cloud. Security is built in our cloud. It's really core to it. I've got a slide on that in a moment. But again, it's worth remembering that our customers are demanding that. That's what they would expect on premise. And superior price performance. It's easy to say that, but actually what it is, in certainly the customers I deal with, a lot of their concerns are around the cost, for example, of egress, so taking data out of the cloud. The way we've done it is try to make it as simple as possible. It's a flat charge to make sure that you're not going to be penalised for moving data out. Same with all our services, we've matched them to the price, and we believe we're competitive against some of the other cloud providers. So making sure that if customers are moving to the cloud, they're not getting horrible surprises when their costs are going up. Now, again, some of the features that our customers are really enjoying and making use in these regions are a few of the things that are on the screen here. So really, I can summarize them as the first one being the Offbox virtualization. That's an easy thing to sort of say, what does that mean, Jason? Well, basically what we've done is, in order to provide bare metal compute, because that's what we felt our customers needed to provide the enterprise scale, we need to actually remove the control code, the cloud control code, off the VMs or off the compute shapes. And we did that, and we now run that on the network. So what that means is not only can we just isolate those compute shapes a lot better and you get better performance, but that's the expectation you would have on premise. So we make that easier. We also make sure that any component going into the cloud, we've made sure from a supply chain point of view, there can't be any vulnerability. So anything going to our cloud, we can make sure that is, again, make sure it's very, very secure going into the cloud. We have a non-blocking network. And again, what does that mean? Well, it's all about being able to make sure there's predictability of performance, which you would expect on premise. And what we've done is we've made sure there's no noisy neighbors. So you don't have to be worried that actually your applications that move to our cloud are going to have performance issues around, say, a very busy network. And we have a layer 2 flat network. And what that means is that the fact we can deliver things like Oracle real application clusters, again, to be able to deliver databases and systems at the scale that you would expect on premise. Now, security is really, really important to us, and I know it will be to you guys as well. And what's important here is that Oracle has been doing security for 44 plus years. That's because our first customers were the NSA, the CIA in the US, and we take security very, very seriously. In fact, we have a concept of no access without actually sort of doing something about it. So the point is we have maximum security by default. So not only is our physical security, so we partner with the best data center providers around the world to make sure that the physical security of the data center are there, but the way we operate as well. So for example, the way that we provide the continuous integration and development of our pipelines of code that go into the cloud, that we make sure that we're very serious about that. Say from the hardware, we make sure the supply chain and no vulnerabilities could possibly be brought into the cloud. So it's important that security is absolutely core to everything we do. There are a few features that I wanted to call out. We have something called Oracle Maximum Security Zones, which again, our customers are really now making use of. What that means is it's basically best practice blueprints. So for example, if you actually have a web server that suddenly has unfettered access to a private VCN where the database is running, we'll flag that up and we'll say that's not the right way to do it. So it actually helps the administrators do best practice in our cloud. Everything's secure, of course, and encrypted, I should say, be it database or object or block storage. We make sure that everything's secure and encrypted. We have something called CloudGuard. Now, CloudGuard's really cool because we're using some machine learning algorithms and that, and we'll look for some vulnerabilities or look for some suspicious activities and flag those. And customers then can either do something about it themselves, or we can automate that as well. I've talked about the autonomous database, for example, again, automated patching and security patching. And I think we'll all agree is that some of the reasons on-premise customers haven't put security patching in there is simply because they couldn't afford the downtime. What we can now do for our customers is make sure that there's no downtime when we're doing those security patches. And all of this is, complementary to our cloud. We're not asking you to pay additional for this. What we're actually very much, we believe, aware of is that it normally is complexity and cost is the reason that customers aren't able to implement cloud security as well as they would like. We're trying to make this as easy as possible. And this is certainly what the customers in EMEA are making use of. Then the final things I just wanted to be able to talk about is what else are we doing to make it easier for our customers in EMEA to move to the cloud? And clearly you guys could get access to this as well. We have something called Oracle Cloud Rewards. So this is the ability to actually get rebates by using Oracle Cloud Infrastructure back against your support or your Oracle support bills. So clearly lots of customers are using on-prem, customers are using our technology within their own data centers or in other people's clouds. And what we're trying to say here is, look, by using Oracle Cloud Infrastructure for all the benefits I've been talking about, you actually can reduce the support spend as well. So that's a really interesting way of making sure that we're funding that move. But also we offer something called Oracle Cloud Lift. Now this is really cool. So what we're actually able to do is provide our resources, our IP, to actually help you with those first workloads to the cloud. So actually you need to take the risk of actually working out how to do it. We'll do it for you. And what's really cool with this is that we'll look at Oracle applications or custom apps with our databases. We'll look at analytical-based platforms. We'll even do HPC-driven activity to make it easier for you guys to actually move to our cloud. And I say, because of the benefits we're talking about, we're finding a lot of customers now making use of this. So just in the time I've got left, let me talk to you about a few of the examples that the customers are really making use of Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So the first one I wanted to talk about was Viva, a large insurance customer. They had a data center exit strategy and actually had a strategy to move to AWS for most things. But what they realized was that actually their software stack around their e-business suite for ERP, as well as a big data warehouse, pricing data warehouse, they called it. They wanted to move that to the cloud, but they didn't want to rewrite everything. They actually just wanted to move it across. And what we're able to do is do exactly that. So they're able to move those environments to the same same components that we now offered in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And not only did they do that and reduce cost, but actually they increased performance as well. So one particular SQL query they had, which had 7 billion rows. It normally took about 7 days for them to actually run that. In Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, it took 2 hours. So they were delighted by not only did they reduce costs, data center exit, but actually they could get the performance benefits as well. And another really cool example that I particularly love is National Grid. Again, a customer who wanted to move out of their data center and actually made use of Oracle Cloud Infrastructure as effectively an extension of one of their existing data centers. And they started, again, moving various workloads, ours as other technology software stacks to the Oracle Cloud. But what they started doing was being able to experiment with some of the compute shapes using the GPUs, so the NVIDIA chips and GPUs. And what they were able to do is they built something called Mildred, which effectively is like a supercomputer built on our cloud infrastructure. And what they wanted to do is look at sustainability and how they can look at renewables in the UK, because obviously we're trying to get to renewables like everybody else is. And what they're able to do is actually get to a point that at the end of 2019, by using this platform, they were able to actually get to just under 50% of all the energy that being used in the UK for that past year was renewables, simply because they were able to do those predictions about where all these sources were coming from. So, for example, just solar was like 21,000 machine learning algorithms just to be able to predict just for solar. So there was a huge amount of requirement to make sure that, they had some good compute behind it. And they made use of Oracle Cloud Infrastructure from that point of view. Now, I'm not sure how I'm doing for time, but just a couple of other ones I just wanted to flag up. Firstly was CERN. Clearly, we all know CERN, the Hadron Collider that is this massive, I think the biggest machine on the planet. Well, what they do is that they make use of, how are we doing for time? Are we running out?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No problem at all. So
yeah.
I'll leave it there.
All right. Thanks so much, Jason.